All right, mid-June. It's actually June 20th. A few days ago, I started splitting the colonies that were having a hard time. They're not going to amount to much, and I've had a absconding swarm every day. One every day. I had one out of here, and I've taken queens out of these, and I put them in failed mating nukes. And that one there, the second absconding swarm I had, came out of this group here. I was expecting this. The small colonies are very touchy. You do anything with them, there's a chance they're going to abscond. This one here, yesterday ended up in a tree out here, and I have a 10-foot step ladder right there. I brought that out here, and I have a pruning tool, and I pulled the branch down, and I got the queen. Once you get the queen, I brought it in my bee room in the house, and I put her on a frame. Actually, this one here, I just put her in a queen cage, and then I released her, and then the bees went back there. That happened around 4:30. It's currently now after 6 p.m. This current swarm now started here. I was out here setting up the sprinkler. That's why in the evenings I have, between 3 and 6 in the evening, I have to be here, especially when you move colonies to do anything to them. They started right here, and I watched it, and they went around over here, and I knew it was late in the day. They're not going to go anywhere, and, as far as leave my property. And they normally will, when they abscond, they will find a place on my property. I have a lot of spruce trees. It's really attractive for the bees, but a lot of times they end up on another hive, and that's currently where they're at, on another hive. And what I'm going to do, see, I've got a hive medium set up with a queen excluder on the bottom, and I've got more queen excluders in my shed. But what I'm going to do is, if I can find her, well, actually I have to find her. I get her in this container here. See, I got a trap door here, and then I take her in the house, and I'll take this frame, and I will put this frame over the queen. And if I gather up a few bees along with the queen, I'll put them in that cage on that frame, and then I'll squirt some honey or put some honey on the cage. Put a dab of honey on this cage here, and that'll give them enough food to get by for a little while until this colony, I don't know, maybe this colony came out of this. That's the thing, when you have over 250 colonies on your property, things happen. Maybe they flew over there. They were out there before I went back there, and they're coming back into their hive now. So sometimes what you do is you just, my advice is just to wait and see what happens. A lot of virgin queens, when they go on mating flights, they'll end up in a completely different hive. If I just restarted a mating nuke that failed, lost their virgin queen, I put in another frame of brood, that's really attractive to a queen that just got mated, and she'll end up in that hive. And then the other hive, I'm just going to assume I lost the virgin queen, but really, technically, I didn't lose the virgin queen. She went into another hive. This is the fun of beekeeping. When you open a hive, you never really know what you're going to find. And I just put a video on about how often to inspect. Well, it's a stupid question. If you don't inspect, you don't know what's going on. Once you learn how to inspect a hive, and if you don't harm them, you don't bother the bees, you can do it several times a day if you want. As long as it's not disruptive to the colony. I open up hives during the afternoon when most of the workers out, and they don't even care. I don't even use smoke. I don't use a veil, and no gloves, nothing. And they don't care. And if you see eggs, and if you want to know if there's a queen in there, if you see eggs, at least the last three days there was a queen in there. And if you don't see any queen cells on a few frames, you'd probably find. You don't need to spend time looking for the queen. All right? It's just ridiculous. Some of the videos that people put on, and nobody talks about the toxic chemicals. My bees do fine during the summer, but they're bringing in all this pollen, this nectar off all these plants around the area, and it's all contaminated with the chemicals that crop farmers use. But the bees don't live very long during the summer, so you don't really notice that it's harming them. But during the winter, when that queen needs that colony to get restarted, and those bees are dying throughout winter because of the toxic chemicals in the hive shortening their life. They can't make it 6 months. Bees are supposed to live 5 to 6 months through winter. But with these toxic chemicals these crop farmers are using in the environment, it's in your hives. It's shortening the lives of your bees. And that's why I can get 3 to 4 months out of a honeybee during winter. And if we have a long, cold winter, a lot of my colonies get really small. February, March is when I have most of my, actually February, March, and April is when I have most of my losses. If it doesn't warm up right away, and it seems like whenever it warms up and the bees get in that mood, things are okay. But if you get a cold spring and it's depressing to the bees, they have no incentive to want to restart. They won't do brood. They'll just all die. And you get a colony that'll only have like maybe 10 to 20 bees left. And there's not enough bees to restart it because they can't keep the larvae warm enough. If you see a queen in the hive and you see eggs, and you go back and you check 3 or 4 days later and you see that queen and eggs and you don't see any larvae, that's because the cluster of bees is not large enough to keep it warm enough to do brood. So I'm gonna end this video now. I'm gonna assume, and what will happen now, this colony goes in here, I'm going to put queen excluder on the bottom and the top. So if they try doing this again tomorrow, the queen's not going to be able to leave. And then you may ask, well, why not do it on all of your colonies? Well, it's because right now I'm making new queens. I need these drones. Drones cannot fit through these queen excluders. I try to minimize the number of colonies that have queen excluders. So, if there's drones in here and they get in the hive and I put queen excluders on them, they're not getting out. They're just going to die in the hive. I don't see a lot of drones. I'm sure there's probably a few. So I'm going to end the video now. Never a dull day when you have honeybees. And you guys keep watching these people on YouTube that talk about all this and that, but they never mention the toxic chemicals. Do a YouTube search. Toxic chemicals killing honeybees, and see how many of your favorite beekeepers on YouTube have a video about that, okay? Do they really care about that, or do they care about not offending the corporations and losing that advertising money, okay? It's not about getting views, about number of subscribers you have. It's about trying to make a difference in the world. I love honeybees, and I don't like the fact that they're dying like this, and I don't like the fact that Americans sit back and do nothing about it. Americans are stupid, and I don't care if you subscribe to me or you subscribed and then unsubscribed. I really don't care. I don't care how many views I get. I'm not in this for my self-esteem. Are we in grade school or what? Do we all care? Oh, he likes you. He likes you. Who cares, okay? Grow up. Be an adult. There's something going on, something wrong with what government's doing. Speak up about it. Don't be afraid of the government, because it's just not the honeybees. Cancer rates are rising, and the rich people want that because they're making money. Every time you go to the hospital, get your chemotherapy, your radiation treatment, they're making thousands of dollars off that, okay? They're doing this by design, all right? You guys got to speak up, all right? It's just not the honeybees. The honeybees are trying to warn you. They're telling you something's wrong with the environment, and you're not listening to it, all right? Thank you.